Welcome everybody to episode 13 of Lore Lords, and Pat couldn't really pick between a couple of different things, so he decided to cop out and do a third Zelda one. That's right. Alright, we're doing Wind Waker, but I'm personally quite excited about this because it's my favorite Zelda game. That's right. Tommy Two Tits declaring it now. Favorite Zelda game, Wind Waker.
We'll never go back on that.
It's not never ever. He's not a bad. I mean, it's not a bad choice. It's not my personal favorite, but it's definitely not a bad choice.
It's wrong. But
it's wrong. It's wrong. But I'm just kidding. We're about to talk about Wind Waker, and I'm just like, nah, fuck this, no.
It's not that great. I'm actually not a fan.
Actually, I hate it. That's not true at all. We actually beat Wind Waker on my stream earlier this year. And it was fun. And it was like the OG Wind Waker, too. Not the one from the Wii U. So it still had all the Triforce pieces you had to collect. And the Triforce charts. You had to. How much money do you have to end up saving up and all?
Too much.
It's like 5,000 rupees or something, like 6,000 rupees that you have to give to Tingle because he's an extortionist which I guess we can talk about that a little bit too. Oh, Tingle in Wind Waker is evil.
Not a great guy. That's for sure.
Not a great guy. Yeah, he is.
A little bit of rock pushing going on.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But yes, we're talking about Wind Waker, the little fun GameCube game that announced Toon Link for the very first time. Although some people actually, I've heard this argument made before, that a lot of the pixel links were pretty chibi-like and pretty cute. So the idea that Toon Link it's like not really that far-fetched, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I mean, sure, the original ones are cartoony, but they're drawn out, not like Toon Link is.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why that was basically the counter argument. It's like A Link to the Past. In the game, he's cute. He has pink hair, but in like the cover art, he's like, looks like a dude.
Just normal television show. We can't wait to bomb some Dodongos, Link.
But so this was like the first time they had 3D Toon, full on Toon Link, and boy howdy, at first it was received poorly. But why was it received poorly? Well, Nintendo actually did something kind of funny. So the previous 3D Zelda game that came before Wind Waker, not a 2D handheld or anything like that, the one that came before Wind Waker was Majora's Mask. People don't remember that. And if you remember correctly, we talked about it on stream. Majora's Mask is kind of, one of the darkest, if not the darkest Zelda game. I'm playing through Breath of the Wild right now for the first time, and there is some heavy shit in there. But still, I think Majora's Mask at the moment for me still takes probably the most depressing and darkest of the tones. So you can imagine how people felt when they saw that little big-eyed character pop up on their screen for the first time. But this is the best part, and this is my favorite thing. So the Nintendo 64 came out and was relevant until, what was it, like 2002 or 2003, until the next gen was coming out?
I think it was 2002, yeah.
Yeah, 2002. Okay. But in order to promote the graphics capabilities of the GameCube, the people at Nintendo put together a few different CG fight reels from different games. One of which was Zelda, of course. And in this fight, you see an Ocarina of Time Ganondorf and an Ocarina of Time Link facing off. And boy, howdy, did it look great. I'll never forget when I saw that, and I was like, holy shit, Zelda's going to be amazing now. It's going to be incredible. And it is. And it was. But it was, to everyone's disappointment, well, I think it was a year later maybe or something, or not even, maybe it wasn't even a year later. I gotta look up the exact date. This should be like rule number 1 on a Lore Lords on a video game, but I totally didn't even think about it. Where's my phone? Anyway, I gotta find out what year Wind Waker came out, and I don't know where my phone is. My research button is gone.
Oh no, not the research button. Yeah. You want to know when Wind Waker came out?
Yeah, when was the year?
Wind Waker's release was 2002.
Oh, so it came out the same year GameCube came out. Well, guess what? When people saw that trailer for Zelda being Link and Ganondorf duking it out in adult forms in a dark temple-looking thing, people were stoked.
GameCube came out technically in Q4 2001. So it
Got it. Okay, right. So it was early 2001 that the demo was played, 2002 when it came out. And it was received. People fucking hated it. When they saw it, they were like, this isn't fucking Zelda. Zelda's not cutesy and it's dark, it's gritty, it's got, I mean, the monsters in it. Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask both had blood in it when you'd kill certain things. You know, I mean, it was green or blue, but
right.
It was still blood. But like, you know, so like, what is this? Well, it turns out to be probably for the time one of the most wholesome and like best told Zelda stories. Period. like in terms of character writing, including Link, who's generally a pretty stoic character. Link himself in this game has a great arc, and I compared it kind of jokingly, semi-serious, and I'll do the comparison a little bit later when we get into it, into the characters. I kind of compared this Link to oh shit, I forget his name, in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the main character, the main guy in that, the guy you
Assassin number 4.
Assassin number 4, exactly. Blonde Assassin number 4, the guy I could actually probably cause Kenway, right? Connor was his
Captain Kenway.
Something Kenway. But anyway, I could actually cosplay that really well. Anyway, but he's very similar to this Link, or to that assassin, and I'll get to it in a minute. But so the anticipation of the Zelda game was so amazing, and then this game came out, and even I, as a little kid, was like, "This looks like it's for kids." I'm not a kid. I'm 10.
I'm 10. I can do a Pokemon journey. I'm not gonna play some baby game.
Yeah, I'm ready for Pokemon. Exactly. So, and I actually didn't get it right when it came out. Not because of that though. I didn't get it right when it came out because my parents didn't get me a GameCube right away. My parents were very just a little bit of Pat lore for you guys. A little break from the Little Lords. My parents were very tentative with video games growing up. They didn't get me a Nintendo 64 until like 2 years after it had come out. They didn't get a GameCube until like a year or two after it had come out. So, that's the original cover art. If you're watching the stream, and I love that original cover art too. By the way, I think it is clean and sleek. That gold, just that gold rays with the sleek sepia tone Link and King of Red Lions. So good. But anyway, but when I did get a GameCube, my mom was like, "Fine, you can have a little bit of GameCube." I ended up borrowing my friend's Wind Waker because he was like, I'm kind of similar to you. He was like, I don't think I'm ever going to play it again. And he gave it to me. Although he asked for it like 6 years later. And at that point it was fucking gone. And I was like, oh,
wow,
sorry, dude.
What a move.
I know. I didn't mean to. I didn't like I didn't mean to lose. I just lost it. It was gone. I just couldn't play it. Yeah,
dude, if I were to gift someone a game or like let someone play a game, like, and it's been like a year, like it's not mine anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. And I definitely see that as an adult now as for practicality's sake, but I felt bad at the time.
Right.
But anyway, I played it, and I can honestly say all of my cynicism, the second I booted up the game, melted away. Because Wind Waker has probably my favorite music. And this is of any Zelda game. And I stand by that I mean, the music in Zelda in all the games is pretty phenomenal. But Wind Waker has some of the most just epic fucking music.
Mm-hmm.
I've like just the sailing music alone when you first set sail. It's
I don't know if it was on a stream or on this show I said it, but my favorite music in all of Zelda is Dragon Roost Island.
Oh, so good. It's
Dragon Roost Island is my absolute favorite. It's got that like Spanish flair to it.
Yeah, the Spanish guitar. Yeah, baby. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's a great one. I think you did say that once on. I don't know when that was.
It might have been the last Thor Lords we were talking about Zelda, so that's why I don't remember. But or just a stream, we talked about Zelda. Sometimes
it comes up. Zelda comes up sometimes. But the second you boot up the game and you see that the opening shot of just like the that opening title sequence is beautiful. It's just a pan up from the ocean with this light. What was it? I think it might even just be a mandolin or guitar, and it's like a chord. It just goes like da 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 da. It's the best theme, and it hits, and there's a swooping shots of Outset Island. You see Link, and you're like, oh, maybe he looks okay, maybe. I feel like they knew that once everybody booted up the game, they heard that opening theme. They were like, "This game is going to be incredible."
Yeah,
that's what happened to me.
It took a couple years, unfortunately. I feel like for people to really accept it.
I think I think it
took. I think it took until Twilight Princess for people to accept Wind Waker as a great game.
I can definitely agree with that because Twilight Princess had a lot of. We'll go over that game eventually in its own right, but that had a lot of ups and downs in reviews itself.
And people, I think they got back to. They looked back at Wind Waker and like, man, that game was actually everything about it was solid.
Yeah,
and all the complaints originally are so
shallow.
Nitpicky and shallow, you know what I mean? Like, oh, the sailing's too long. It's like, is it? Is it really?
Not.
Like the GameCube can't hold that big of a world, so I don't believe you.
Yeah, it's not that big, and honestly, halfway through the game, you get a teleportation song that basically takes you to any major corner of the map. So shut up. And in the Wii U version, they give you a super sail that where you don't have to play the song again, and it just goes twice as fast. So shut up. So if you had those complaints, they fixed it. And also the Triforce hunt is kind of a. Whew.
Yeah,
it's a grind, baby.
there's a. I will also say something about this game that's fantastic is you can play it nowadays and it still looks great.
Oh yeah,
because of the way they did the graphics, it holds up forever.
Yeah, it's cel shaded, cartoony, and even
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like the original one, it still holds up. It always will. You can up-res it and make it look better, of course, but it's always going to look good.
Yep, and that's so nice. Oh, what a satisfying thing. I do like the HD look though. The HD remake looks really nice. But
it looks crisper.
Yeah, but it's the same game.
Yeah.
So. Where were we? Oh my gosh. Just the opening title sequence. I've never really ranted over that on a Zelda game yet. But yeah, the opening title sequence to Wind Waker. Any cynicism I had as a 10-year-old kid washed away immediately. I didn't care about at that point. I fell in love with the graphics the second I heard the song. That music, for obvious reasons, has always been a really big sort of gateway for me. If something has good music, I will give it a chance. Period. It doesn't matter. If I hear a song and I'm like, this is
oh, that's why you played Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, honest to God, one of my favorite parts about Final Fantasy is just listening to the tunes. When I fly on my Nimbus cloud now that I have it, and I'll just listen to tunes. And to this day, Ulda's theme is still probably one of my. The nighttime theme, Sultana Dreaming, probably one of my favorite video game themes of all time. Period. Now. That song skyrocketed, by the way. And we're not talking about Final Fantasy though, but that game is, but I just want to point out, if you guys want to hear some good video game music, Sultana Dreaming. Anyway, or the main theme for Wind Waker.
Yeah, or Dragon Rouge Island.
Or Dragon Rouge Island. Again, or the sailing theme.
The Great Sea theme is fantastic.
Oh yeah, because again, so you boot up the game and it starts off kind of like any other Zelda game. Link's asleep. Which I personally, as a lazy guy who likes sleeping, I love that. The fact that Link is just he's a lazy dude. He's kind of he's just a guy. That's kind of one of the.
He's a teenage boy.
Yeah, one of the best ways to articulate Link in to being just another dude is basically just he's fucking passed out. he's cold. He's that cold. And almost every game he is. And on this one, he's kind of sleeping in the funniest spot at top of a watchtower. And his sister finds him. That's right. He has a sister. Most of the time, Link's relatives are relatively distant. He doesn't usually have parents. He doesn't usually have siblings. He usually has an uncle maybe.
Who's dead.
Who's dead, or who dies in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. Minutes of death, minutes of life on his uncle.
Yeah. God, that poor guy. Hey, at least he gave you the sword, He hooked you up.
Take this.
Shit, sorry, son. Bleh, dead. It was close to an Uncle Ben story. Good old Link to the Past. Anyway, so, Link, usually orphan boy or low family at any case. This time, not so. He has a little sister. And a grandmother. So you can already tell right there, but there are no parents, so you can already say, oh, there was some tragedy here. There is already, right out of the gate, the second you meet these three characters, Grandma, what's her name, Ariel, I think, and Link, you already out of the gate, you're like, oh, there's already gravity to these characters. There's already something to know about them. Link does want to take care of his sister more than anything. He wants to help his grandmother more than anything because he's the man of the house. He has to. She does her best. She cooks. She makes the dynamite grandma soup, which heals you for all your hearts and magic, and it gives you a power boost.
Because it's dynamite.
It's so good. It's so good. That grandma soup, ooh, what a meal. But she's got, and Ariel's just a little girl. She's still working on her. She's like she's just like a little dork kind of.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything. She's a little girl who lives on an island.
Yeah, she's just kind of a little nerd. Well, she likes to look
watch
at
birds.
Watch birds. She's like a bird watcher, and she likes to she's very observant. She likes to get up into things and look at clothes, kind of like little kids, how they do that. How little kids are like.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's just a very generic child.
Yeah, very we'll get up in your face, kind of like, what are you doing? Those really children have no sense of personal boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. Cute kid. And basically right off the bat, after some tutorial stuff, she gets kidnapped. So, and this is this is in the first hour, basically of the game. As long as you're not dicking around for too long, I guess. If you're dicking around for a while, maybe, but, and then, and she gets kidnapped because there is kind of a search warrant, so to speak, out for blonde-haired girls.
Normal.
Yeah. Hitler 2.0 is looking to...
We're looking to restart the system.
Yeah. No, that's not it. I guess...
No.
Ganondorf's kind of like Hitler.
Ganondorf's kind of a big bad guy, but not quite the same.
Not quite the same, no. First of all, he's fake. Anyway. So she gets kidnapped. Actually, what's kind of funny is before your sister gets kidnapped, suddenly you're kind of just out and about doing your tutorial stuff, and a pirate ship is seen firing cannons at this giant bird right above your home island of Outset Island. And at one point, the cannon nails the bird. And you see that the bird drops something in the forest, what looks like a person. And Link, being the good Samaritan he is, he's like, well, I'm going to go check that out. I hope that person's okay. You go up there and you find a blonde pirate chick named Tetra. And she is sassy. One of the most characteristic characters in any Zelda game. Nothing. I didn't say anything. She's just a blonde girl who's the captain of a ship, that's all. But she's cool, and she's really badass. And she's basically around the same age as Link, so 13, 14 years old. Because Link is 13 at the beginning of his adventure when he gets his green garb. Because that's the age of when, I guess, Ocarina of Time Link has probably started his journey, I suppose. Because that's the age, I guess, if that's what that means. Anyway, something to think about. Even though I always thought that Ocarina Link was 10. But anyway. He might be 13. He just seems so short. Anyway, stop. You're talking about Wind Waker. I'm just joking. So you meet Tetra, you save Tetra, and after you save her and a bunch of her doofy pirates come in and help her too, you see your sister Ariel across the bridge, and she's like, oh, you're okay, brother, good to see. And that little bird spies that little blonde girl and snatches her up. And there's a really heart-wrenching scene where right after she gets snatched up by the bird, Link, without thinking, just chases after the bird and just basically dive bombs off a cliff. And if it wasn't for Tetra, he probably would have died. Because Tetra grabs him and is like, what are you doing, dude? She's gone. It's over. And it's one of those scenes that's so brutal because Link just is hanging there, hopeless, watching his sister get carried away. For all he knows, she's dead. You know what I mean? Because a giant bird could have just clawed a hole through her and she's dead. Tetra's just holding her like, dude, it's over. She's doing the pirate thing. Stop it. You can't do that. You can't get emotional about it now. It's over. We live on the high seas. This happens, You're clearly not. You're clearly used to sadness since your parents are dead.
Whatever, orphan.
Yeah, you stupid orphan. Now you're his only child. And then after that's not all. After you see your sister get taken from you, you have to go and tell your grandmother, hey, Grandma, yeah, Ariel, she might be dead.
Hey, Grandma, sister got taken by a giant bird.
Yeah, Best case scenario, she's on another island somewhere. I have to find her. Worst case scenario, she's dead. She's bird food. Like, sorry, Grandma. As Link tries to hide his boner as he leaves. I met a girl, too.
She's really pretty.
She's really pretty. But then, of course, Tetra, because, Tetra's not a bad pirate. She's a badass pirate, but not a bad person. She's like, all right, come along. We probably know where this bird's going. She's going to the Forsaken. We know where this bird's from. It's Forsaken Fortress. We'll take you there. Just don't touch anything. So Tetra invites you onto their pirate ship, and you set sail to go rescue your sister. Yay! What's kind of fun about this game, by the way, and this is what I wanted to get into a little bit on the levels. So this game is built very uniquely, and it's something that I think Zelda games after this did either a really good job at emulating or not. Speaking of looking at you, Skyward Sword. But Wind Waker had very unique levels. And they were very strong at pushing the narrative forward. The first level is called the Forsaken Fortress, but a lot of people, if you're thinking story driven, this isn't the first level. If you're thinking story driven, this is the first level. If you're thinking standard Zelda setup, this is not the first level. But at the same time, so what happens is you get to the Forsaken Fortress, the pirates launch you at the wall, you lose your sword, so you have to spend the entire time sneaking around, which teaches you the sneaking mechanics to the game, which is awesome and is used a lot in later Zelda games, particularly Breath of the Wild, in a big way, which is I'm a big fan of that. Loved the sneaking in Wind Waker. With the barrels, you put them over your head, you can avoid them. And similar to Ocarina of Time, if you got caught, you got thrown out. So, or put in jail. There was a jail cell, right? You got put in jail, and you had to escape the jail and to continue your journey. But you always could. There was always an escape. Don't worry about it. You could get out. And you had to try to find your sister and find your sword. So once you find your sword, you kill a guard and find your sister along with, like 2 or 3 other young women, most of which were blonde. One's brunette, I think, but most of which were blonde. They're all young women, though. And you're like, oh shit, there's my sister. However, you're not quite equipped to battle a giant bird who comes crashing down and says, hey, you can't be here. So the bird basically plucks you up and throws you into the open ocean, where most stories would end.
A nice saltwater bath.
Yep, and that's it. But thankfully, there's a certain observer, unbeknownst to Link and Tetra. There's a little boat following them around, a little red boat with a big old face on it called the King of Red Lions. And the King of Red Lions saves Link and brings him to a wonderful island. I love this island personally, called Windfall Island. Windfall Island is the merchant island where everybody comes to make their dreams or their fiscal dreams come true. You want to become rich? That's where you do it. Also, there is a homeless problem there, though. Which is actually true. There is literally a representative homeless person in that level, and it represents classism in a very innocent way. Anyway, so
it's a side effect of having an island built on people trying to become rich.
Yep, exactly. You're gonna have and the poor person is literally their entire ambition when you first meet them is to become rich. Oh well, okay, that's not true. They have a daughter, a homeless daughter, and that daughter got kidnapped. So they want you to save their daughter, and then become rich. But you'll find that most of the daughters that are missing come from this island on Windfall. There's a couple. I think there's 2 gentlemen, the poorest and the richest actually. The poorest man, the homeless man, and the basically like Windfall's like rich. Puppeteer, they both have their daughters missing, and they say they'll give anything to get their daughters back, and he does. The rich one actually ends up in the story spends his entire fortune to save his daughter, which you kind of do it, but you kind of do it for free. But he spends his entire fortune and he becomes the homeless person, and then the old homeless person then takes advantage of that, and he becomes the richest one after his daughter is saved. So, there's a little bit
gotcha.
There's a little implication there that the homeless man, the first homeless man, actually like conned the rich man into saying he was going to save both of their daughters, and then he became rich by way of. And then when the daughters were saved, he's like, I don't care, my daughter's home. Because like the rich man ended up having a really nice sort of full arc, by the way, because his full arc was I'm a rich snooty douchebag who wants my daughter back. Once he got his daughter back, he's like the only thing that matters is family. Like, and I was like, wow, that's really nice. Whereas the other guy, when you save his daughter, his daughter's kind of cool. She's like, yeah, I'm thanks for saving me. I'm back home. This is nice. But her dad, the previously homeless guy, is a dick.
I'm rich.
Yeah, he's such an asshole after that. It's like he's like, fuck you, I'm rich now. It's so funny. And he has like this really, he gets like hair plugins too. By the way, he gets like anyway, he gets hair plugs. It's funny. That's a really tiny little bit of lore for you on the other daughters that were kidnapped. But anyway, I was trying to talk about the level setup a little bit. So after the King of Red Lion saves you, you spend some time on Windfall Island. You finally make your way to the actual first level at the wonderful island that Atlas was talking about earlier, Dragon Roost Island, one of the best themes in the entire game. And also a really fun level too, actually, sincerely. It's a very good level. And it's where you meet for the very first time the Ruto. I said Ruto.
I can't remember what they're called. So this is a U one.
I know this is an E one, and I have so many R names stuck in my head right now. I have Ruto, Ruta, Ruja, Rija.
Well, Rito is the girl. Rito. I know that.
Yeah, Rito's the girl. They're the
Are they called the Rito?
They might be.
Or is Rito the girl? No, the girl's name was like Melanie, right?
Oh yeah, no. The girl's name is I think Melanie, or no, Melody. Actually, her name
Melody.
Is, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Rito. They're called Rito.
Rito. Okay. I knew it started with an R and it sounded like Rudo. Anyway, so the Rito. It's the first time you meet the Rito tribe, which is the bird people, the flyers, and they're really cool. Some people say that they came from Zoras, which makes absolutely zero sense to me. Because Zoras are fish people, and the water is an ocean. So, and they can live in salt water. They do live in salt water in Majora's Mask. So, we know that Zoras can live in fresh and salt water. So, first of all, where are they? And it's actually, you know what? Zoras probably had the entire world as their ocean. Now they're like, fuck it, we're just gonna leave. We don't need to be here anymore. But so some people would presume that they evolved from that. I don't think that makes no sense to me. I think that they're just a species that came about, after a while, that evolved over time. I mean, Wind Waker takes place like thousands of years after the events of adult Ocarina of Time Link, which we'll get into the timeline where it fits in the timeline later. So anyway, you get to Dragon Roost, you meet the bird people. And they tell you, hey, you got to go and quell our, basically their patron deity, which is Valu, which is a giant dragon. He's kind of a dopey looking dragon, but he's awesome. I love Valu. He's cool. Hey, there's Melody.
Her name is Medley.
Medley. Damn it. I was close. It's close. Still a cute name. But she's awesome. She plays the harp. And she is a smart little bugger. And
she's very similar to Princess Ruto too, where you carry her in your head, except she's not annoying.
Yeah, she's really nice actually, and helpful, and not at all. Yeah, not at all a huge pain in the ass. She's probably one of the more wholesome, kinder characters in it. She's always there. She's very supportive of Link. She's very supportive of her people. She just wants to make sure her people can stay thriving and stay healthy. That's basically her. She's very altruistic in that way. Whereas Tetra is pirate. Yeah. Tetra pirate. At the beginning, at least. So you go and you save the dragon, and then Dragon Roost is all thankful, and they're like, thank you so much. And you get the pearl. You get Din's pearl, which helps you out. And then the King of Red Lions tells you to go to another island. What is that island called? Well, it's called the Forest Haven. And it's where we see, and this is one of my favorite, and I've talked about this plenty of times on other streams, but I just think this is both tragic and beautiful and cool all at the same time, is what happens to the Great Deku Tree and the Koroks, or what happened to them and why they are where they are. So, in Ocarina of Time, after you beat the Forest Temple and Saria is awakened as a sage, you get the Forest Medallion and all that. You basically save the Lost Woods, and the Great Deku Tree is able to be born anew, and a little Deku Tree sprout pops out of the ground. And by the way, I want to point out this really cute detail. This little Deku Tree sprout has a bottom lip, a slightly small, prominent bottom lip. I want to point that out. in Ocarina of Time, he does. Makar! I love Makar. Makar's my favorite companion in this game. I love him.
He's the best Korok.
Yeah, he's the best Korok by far. So you meet the great, and so when you get to the Forest Haven, you meet the Great Deku Tree. And it is the same Great Deku Tree, or it is implied that it is the same Deku Tree as the one that you saved as Ocarina of Time Link thousands and thousands of years prior. So this is the same one, which is super cool to think about. And after, but what are the Koroks? So after you meet the Great Deku Tree, the Koroks come out, and they're little wooden guys, just like Makar. If you're watching the stream right now, holding a little violin and a little leaf face. He has a little leaf on his face, or it is his face. I don't really know. Anyway, however, these little guys show up, and if you've played any Zelda games before, you're going like, but wait, the Great Deku Tree's companions weren't little wood guys; they were
children.
They were forever children.
Also, just a side note, because I thought this was creepy as hell as a kid, because I think it said so in the manual that the Koroks wore masks to hide their horrific faces.
That sounds familiar.
And I think it's because what you're about to say.
Yeah. So, why the hell did the Deku Tree, which once kept his companionship with children, children of the forest, forever children, why is he hanging out with little wood people now? Because they're the same. That's right. After Hyrule was flooded and Ganondorf started doing his dark magics as Ganondorf's magic, and I should say Ganon, actually. Ganon's magic slowly start creeping back into the realm. Kokiri, the Kokiri children, could not survive. They were children. They couldn't do that. But guess what floats? Wood. Wood floats. So, that's exactly what the Great Deku Tree did. He used his great almighty power and transformed the Kokiri into these horrific-looking little tree people in order to save them.
Yeah, I always imagined that under the leaf was this, like, screaming face.
I mean, it
kind of thing of, like, the little kid that was being warped into wood. Yeah,
because it would not have been a clean process.
Yeah, so they wear leaves to hide it.
Yeah, so yeah, underneath, you can imagine underneath all those cute little Korok leaves are people faces, but distorted and fucked up, because Koroks were once, well, again, not people, but they were Kokiri, which are, again, they're kind of like
Kokiri aren't people, don't worry.
Yeah, kids aren't people. But bear in mind, some of these Kokiri, if this gives you any peace of mind, the Kokiri, a lot of them were probably a lot older than children, so they may have been like in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, but they just looked like kids. So, you just see children being tortured, but they are adults, technically.
Yeah, we love seeing Milo getting tortured, though.
He gets a swamp named after him in Breath of the Wild. That was wild to me.
It was wild.
Like, really? Sorry I got a lake, too, but I was like, that makes sense. Sorry is cool. But he got a fucking swamp named it. I mean, I guess he is a little bit of a swamp ass.
Yeah, true. There you go.
Yep. So anyway, that's the sad, tragic story of the Koroks. They were once the Kokiri children of the forest, but in the desperate attempt to save them, the Great Deku Tree transformed them into the little wooden Korok friends that I personally I do love them.
They're hilarious. They're cute and they're little and they're bubbly.
Yeah, absolutely. Although there are theories that the Kokiri aren't extinct. There are plenty of theories that they're not extinct, but their thing is, and this is what I don't think a lot of people understand from Ocarina of Time, the fact that you start there is very actually impactful, and this is a little bit of Ocarina of Time lore, but the Kokiri are hidden. They are hidden children of the forest. They are basically a myth to the Hylians.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is they're in the Lost Woods, right? So no one can find them.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, everybody in Hyrule thinks the Kokiri aren't real. They think that they are fake. And the only signs that you do see of Kokiri being real are Skull Kids. Because Skull Kids are the little guys wearing the bad guy in Majora's Mask. They're the ones with the red straw hats, and they have those beak-looking things. Skull Kids are what happens when Kokiri and other children, basically, adult Hylians turn into Stalfos Knights. In the Lost Woods, whereas children turn into Skull Kids. So that is the only proof that Hylians have that Kokiri exists, but no one really cares. Because no one goes to the Lost Woods. Why the fuck would you go to the Lost Woods? Why would you do that? as a suicide run. It's one of those places that's just avoided. Not to mention the Deku scrubs basically own it, and the Deku scrubs in Hyrule are not very nice. So they're kind of mean. They're not as nice as the ones in Termina, which aren't really nice either. Anyway, we're talking about Wind Waker. But this is all, again, leading to it. This all leads to Wind Waker to some degree. So again, it is theorized that the Kokiri aren't entirely extinct, but that they're just so hard to find, and that they're basically gone. They'll never show themselves ever. Kind of thing.
Right.
And they won't. And it's even in Twilight Princess, it's heavily implied that they're there. Especially in the Forest Temple, because on the Forest Temple doors in Twilight Princess, it has the Kokiri symbol, the Deku symbol on it. It's covered all over the place. So
my only argument about that would be that the Kokiri's kind of mission would be to serve the Deku tree, right, and protect the Deku tree.
Yeah.
So in Breath of the Wild, you see the Deku tree, and there's no Kokiri, there's Koroks.
Same basic process.
But I think if the Kokiri were around, that's where they would be.
Well, there is no Great Deku Tree in Twilight Princess, but...
Oh, no, I'm talking about in Breath of the Wild, which is the furthest point forward. You only see Koroks.
Yeah, so they're gone now, yeah. So, maybe at that point... you could probably say they're gone then. Which is pretty sad. Also, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker take place in two different timelines. So, the Kokiri of Twilight Princess, that again, you don't see them, but they're implied.
Right, it was never flooded, and there was never
so they never
a thing, so yeah.
So they likely either went extinct, died out, or evolved into Koroks as well in their own right. Because they might have had another justification to turn into Koroks. The Great Deku Tree probably had that plan in the back of his head for years. Hey, if something goes wrong, I'll turn you into trees.
Something much hardier than soft child bodies.
Exactly. It's probably something the Deku Tree's a wise old entity. I imagine he had some tricks up his sleeve. So, anyway, back to Wind Waker and this whole level. I love the lore behind the Koroks and the Great Deku Tree and the forest so much, because again, it's so cornerstone Zelda when it comes to like most Zelda games have forest levels, if not the first level. So it's always very nice to and it's nice that this is the second, or technically the third if we're following along, because so we had the Forsaken Fortress, which is the first level technically, even though it's kind of not, because you don't get a heart piece after it. You don't get teleported out. You don't beat a huge boss. It's not like that. Then you beat Dragon Roost, which is a fire level, and then you go to the forest level. So I thought that was a nice little mix-up. And the forest level is really cool. It's basically just another big old area that the Koroks use to nurture and grow their trees that they can spread across the islands of the Great Sea, basically. That's what they do. And they need that because there's two islands at the Forest Haven. There's two major islands. There's the Deku Tree Island, and then there's the Temple Island, basically, with the level you go in.
Right.
And that's where the Koroks go to, again, get those seeds. They harvest the seeds there. That's where they get their food. It's a very important place for them. They can still do all those things too in the Great Deku Trees Island, but it's just, it's not enough room. This guy get more room. Yeah, it's like they're basically like refugees. I imagine some of the Koroks probably live in that one, Actually, there's a lot of evidence that shows that, because in that level, there's tiny little stumps that kind of slightly resemble the Kokiri houses in Ocarina of Time. So you can highly infer that, the Koroks live in those tiny little stumps,
Right.
Which is super cute, by the way. Super dorbs. So then you liberate them, and you get Foror's Pearl. That's right, 2 pearls. You got Din's Pearl from Dragon Roost and Foror's Pearl from the Great Deku Tree. And then, of course, there is always a water level. But what I loved about this game is there's no real need for a water level in a game that is 90% ocean. So, well, maybe not 90%, like 80% ocean. So they basically were just kind of like, okay, in order to get this water pearl, you're going to have to sail across the ocean a bunch. So first you are told to go to this island called the Great Fish Island, which is, I believe, a reference to another Zelda game. And when you get there, it's completely demolished. Ganon and his forces already got there and destroyed it, trying to hedge you off, by the way. It's implied, even though you can technically, if you break the game, you can technically go there before you're supposed to. But earlier on in the game, the island is fine. It's still there. But once you beat the Great Deku Trees level, and you get Foror's Pearl, it's implied that while you were doing that, Ganon and his forces went to Great Fish Isle and not just like killed everybody and like destroyed the town. They destroyed the island. Like when you
they made sure that there was no Link's Awakening to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So they wanted to find Nehru's pearl, steal it from Link, and completely kill Jaboon, who is theorized to be Jabu's
Spawn
reincarnation. Oh, Spawn works too. His that's where he lives. So Jaboon normally lives on Great Fish Island, but he got the fuck out of there because he's just like the Great Deku Tree, just like Valu the dragon. He is an old entity. He's been around for thousands of years. He's a smart cookie. So Jaboon got the hell out of there before Ganon showed up. He could have probably warned the people, but because we don't see the people of Great Fish
Island. They were just like, oh, what was that whale song? Look how cute he is. And then he's like, oh, I'm leaving. Screw these guys.
Oh, well, I guess technically the whale doesn't speak common tongue.
Yeah.
He only speaks Hylian, so he probably was trying to warn them, and they were like, oh, you're probably right. They were like, aw, and then all of a sudden their island explodes. And basically that's what happens, because when you approach Great Fish Island, you see like pieces of it, like, protruding in the air like the Titanic did in the movie, like, you know what I mean, because it's just blown up. There's canyons and cliffs. You can't even get to most of the island. You can really only walk on this one little patch because it's just so demolished. And you run into one of your Ruto friends who's like, hey dude, yeah, what the fuck? He's just like, you should get out of here,
dude,
man.
You just missed it, dude.
Yeah, he basically tells you what happened. He's like, oh god. He's like, everyone's dead. Like, and you're like, oh shit! And during this time, though, it's a little bit. Some people, I actually don't remember if it's entirely in the story, but there's a lot of but I have heard theories that there's a great storm that's happening during this. It's a great storm and forever evening kind of thing, where like time usually passes day and night throughout this game, like as you do stuff. However, in this sequence, it's always nighttime and it's always raining, no matter where in the map you are. And that's deliberate, because at first it's implied that, oh, maybe it's Ganon's doing as he hunts down Jaboon to try to get the Nehru's pearl, but it's actually Jaboon himself. He's covering himself with rain into his escape. So he used the rain and darkness to escape, and using his divine abilities, he kept the rain going. I don't know about darkness. I don't know about the darkness. That might be Ganon, but but the rain is Jaboon, because the rain stops after you find him. So what happens is, you have to you find out where Jaboon is, and you have to go to a different, back to Windfall Island, the Merchant Island, where the pirates are, because the pirates know where Jaboon is too, and they know Jaboon has a treasure. They don't know that it's an incredibly important piece that will help save the world. They don't know that. They just know it's a really nice piece of jewelry, so they're going for it. And conveniently, Link bumps into them on Windfall Island and finds out that Jaboon is on his home of Outset Island. So the very first island you start out, Jaboon went and hid there, which is, by the way, pretty big deal in terms of character stuff, because Link now it's the problem has been brought home again. First it was with his sister getting stolen. Second, now it's the fact that there's this guardian deity that is just hanging out at his home, that if Ganon finds out, he'll do the same thing to Outset Island that he did to the Great Fish Island. So you have to get there as fast as humanly possible. You steal some bombs from the pirates. It's a fun little sequence. And then you sail as fast as you can to Outset Island. And once you get there, you blow open the back door, basically. Not even kidding. And you go see Jaboon. And Jaboon and the King of Red Lions have a conversation that you don't understand because you don't speak Hylian, at least on your first playthrough. And so Jaboon, but then after a conversation, he just drops the pearl on you. So then you have Nehru's pearl. You're given all three of them, and bada bing, bada boom, it's time. So there are 3 islands in the middle of the map, basically, that form a triangle, and you're supposed to drop the pearls, one on Din's statue, Fodor's statue, and Nehru's statue, corresponding with their pearls, of course. And once you do that, it will basically unlock a whole section, a whole big tower that comes from the depths of the ocean, called the Tower of the Gods. And it is the first mild reference you get to where you are. Because bear in mind, we know that the Great Sea is above Hyrule. Spoiler alert. But no one that lives in the Great Sea knows that. Everybody's just like, we live on the ocean. this is where we live. This is our home. Like, whereas they don't know that under the water, like probably about a mile underneath, 2 miles maybe under the water, there is a literally kingdom, a whole kingdom under there. And it is preserved perfectly under the water. And also, if I'm not mistaken too, it's not technically in water. It's actually like, there's like only like a thin, not thin, but like there's like a layer of water, and then underneath it is magic, and then it's just air. Again.
Yeah, it's a bubble.
Like
it's
a bubble.
Ganon put it in a big bubble.
Yeah, because he wanted to keep it. Because you find out Ganon's motivation around this time too. Because this is around the same time you're soon after this, you're going to go rescue your sister. You find out that Ganon wants to bring Hyrule back to the surface. He doesn't want the ocean to exist anymore. He in fact hates the ocean. He thinks it's the worst thing in the world. And what he coveted, what he said in his monologue, he monologues to Link before he almost kills him, and Valu saves him. The dragon and the bird people, the Rudo, they follow. They save him too. Ganon laments, saying that where I grew up, and if you know where Ganondorf's origins are, he grew up in the Gerudo Desert. He's like, where I grew up, every single day, the winds felt like razor blades against your face, and every single night, the winds froze you in your place. I coveted the winds of Hyrule. I coveted those feelings of warmth breeze in your hair and through your, like that kind of thing. He's lamenting that what I wanted was this immaculate world of Hyrule instead of this dingy desert that I'm from. And he wanted that back. So he preserved Hyrule in this bubble to bring it up one day again. Which his plan does not go that way. But
nope.
after you get rescued, and right before Ganondorf literally is about to kill you in Tetra, like you get rescued by the Rudo and everything like that, and then so you have to go on, and at this point you have the Master Sword, by the way. So you unlock the Master Sword, you discover that Hyrule's underneath in this bubble, and you try to confront Ganondorf with the Master Sword. And theoretically, you're like, hey, that's the game, isn't it? That's what you do. When you get the Master Sword, you fight Ganon. However, similar to Skyward Sword, the Master Sword, it ain't at 100% juice yet. It's actually kind of running at 50% power. So Ganondorf kind of scoffs at it. He's like, oh, that's the sword, but you can't do anything with it. So he beats the shit out of Link. And again, he gets rescued. So They find out they have to use the power of ancient sages to unlock the power within the Master Sword. And there are 2 sages that you need to do to meet in order to do that. The first one you meet, both of them are already dead, by the way. Of course, because that's usually the case with sages. They're some of them are living, by the way. Like, say you can be a living sage in the Zelda universe. That's not a crazy thing. But like most of them are dead and continue their jobs basically, like until they can't anymore, until another sage takes their place, which is the case in this game. Because when you find the level, it's an island all the way to the north or south, because there's 2 islands in each pole, north and south. You go to the first one and you learn a big song. And when you learn the song using the Wind Waker, or the baton, the musical baton that you use, a sage appears, a ghostly sage of Azora appears. And you're like, oh, that's the first Zora I've seen this whole fucking game. Anyway, that's my anger. But the Zora teaches you the song and tells you, hey, remember, Hyrule, one of big Hyrule's things is music. Music is keys. If you want to know how to unlock certain places, you have to play the right tune with the right instrument the right way. And this Zora is holding a golden harp. What friend did we mention earlier has a golden harp? Well, Medley, the little bird girl. She's got a golden harp, and she's pretty damn good at playing it. So the Zora basically says, hey, go find the friend who has the same instrument as this and bring them here. They are going to be awakened as a sage. And you do that. You go to Dragon Roost Island. You're like, what's up, Medley? What's up? How you doing? She's like, yeah, I'll go with you. Why not? Let's go on a little. If I can help, I should help. Again, she's a team player. Love Medley. Big fan. She goes with you, and she is unlocked as the sage, and you have to carry her through the whole level. Mm-hmm. This level is really cool, by the way, because it's kind of a mix between the Spirit Temple and the Shadow Temple of Ocarina of Time. It's the Shadow Temple in tone, because it's an old burial ground, basically. Basically, you're kind of in another Hylian burial ground. Potential torture chamber, too. Who knows? Those Hylians in their torture chambers.
Yeah, classic.
They're all over the place. So, it's kind of like that, but you have to use Medley's very shiny and bright harp to reflect light off of things. And in that temple, you yourself receive da-na-na-na, the mirror shield. I love the mirror shield, a common trope, a fan favorite. You get, and it's a really cool design too. Actually, the design on the mirror shield of in Wind Waker is
we love to see it.
Love to see it. It's a good design. And so you and Medley, you work together to use your light sources to solve the rest of the puzzles. You defeat the giant Poe, which is probably the lamest boss in any Zelda game, to be honest. It's probably the dumbest.
Yeah, it's not very exciting.
No. Yeah, the level's really cool, and then you get to the boss, and it's a gigantic, overweight Poe that you basically shine with light, pick it up, throw it into spikes, and then it scatters into like 24 mini Poes that you can kill individually, and then when you kill all of them, they're dead. And normal Poes are very easy to kill in that game. The box is only 1 coin. Anyway, so after that one, you get unlocked as the Sage, and you get a piece of the Master Sword's power unlocked. So now you're at 75%, baby. The Master Sword is pretty powerful. Not quite yet. And then you're like, all right, so we have to find one more Sage to unlock the Master Sword's power. So what do? You go to that other island, you have to learn another song. But wait, what spirit do you see this time? You don't see a spirit of a Korok. You see the spirit of a Kokiri. That's right, the little children, the little boy.
It's super depressing.
It is so fucking depressing, dude. Because you know how they looked right before it happened. Bear in mind, it's also theorized that this specific Kokiri Sage boy was killed again in the time right before Wind Waker. He was a sage at that temple in the Great Sea doing his job and was murdered by Ganondorf. Like, it's the same with the Zora. Is that they were like a living Zora and a living Kokiri on the Great Sea for a little while, but they were killed. And that's really sad because you meet them when they're already dead. Mm-hmm. There's so much about Zelda games, and this is one of the reasons I love them, that where it's just how, like, you have to accept that it's too late sometimes. Like, and it's a really sad lesson, but it's such a good one. And it's like, but hey, just because it's too late for these people doesn't mean it's too late. Keep fighting, and that's the whole point of the game. And, oh, it's so good. It's like every Zelda game, though. You can say that about Wind Waker for sure. And so this Kokiri, the spirit of this Kokiri, is so sad. He pulls out a violin and he says, "Find your friend who has this instrument and bring them to me." And they will be awakened as the Sage. And what little guy? What little beep beep boop? Little tiny little wooden little dorky little clumsy little guy? Little Makar. I love him so much. You go and find Makar rehearsing. You find him rehearsing underneath. It's actually really cute when you find him again, because he's like, it is a little tiny nook under this waterfall in the Great Deku Tree Island, and he's just like practicing under there because he's like, yeah, I'm practicing for the Great Koroks Festival, and it's like the cutest shit in the world. And he's like, I can't finish this song, I don't know what to do. And then like, and then you play like the Sage song to him, and he's like, and then he just kind of has a fever dream and is like, holy shit, I got way more important things to do. Like,
I have become God.
Yeah, basically, this tiny little guy becomes God. Little Makar becomes awakened as a new Sage, the Sage of Winds, actually. Because Melody, by the way, I forgot to mention, gets awakened as the Sage of Earth. And then Makar gets awakened as the Sage of Winds. So you get to you guessed it, the Wind Temple, which is probably one of the hardest levels if not the hardest level in the game, actually. Because Makar gets kidnapped, like, at the very beginning of the level, and you need him to beat a lot of it, so you have to, like, find a way to rescue him, like, and it's a pain in the ass. And then after you rescue him, there's, like, 75% more level. Like, there's, like, so much level.
That's the, Mulgara's the boss of that one, right?
The worm?
Yes,
the big worm. I forget the names of some of the bosses.
It's like I always remembered that one because it's like the king of the Moldorms.
Yeah. Basically, it's like the king of the
Dalkic's favorite. Anyway,
no. There's a better reference to Moldorm later.
No, there's literally.
Literally. Yeah, you literally fight basically Moldorm again. So we'll get to that. So you fight, and then the Wind Temple is this obnoxious fucking level where you have to manipulate the winds in all sorts of crazy ways. Little Makar helps you out. He can grow little trees, by the way. It's the cutest thing, and you can use your hookshot to grapple onto these little trees. Super cute. So,
It's a grappling hook, Pat Weston.
no, you get the grappling hook earlier. Then you get the hook shot.
No, I'm pretty sure you don't have a hook shot.
Yeah, you get a hook shot.
Yeah, I actually don't remember having that. I thought it was always a little grappling hook you
get both.
circled.
You get both.
Oh, okay.
The grappling hook you get from Medley in the very first level in Dragon Roost because it's what the...
Yeah, I remember that. I remember climbing around the side of the mountain and then using it on his tail.
Yeah, if you want to use some bird people lore, before the bird people can develop their wings, they use grappling hooks to get around because they still need to get to high places sometimes, so they use grappling hooks. And that actually helps them develop their wings because their wings can grow out of their arms. So if they have strong arms early by climbing up grappling hooks, they can grow out their wings even quicker and younger.
Also, just to reference the Zora thing we mentioned earlier, when you talk to the Zora, she hints heavily that the bird people are Zoras.
It's so weird. I just don't believe it.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense for two reasons. One, of course, the world became ocean, so why would the ocean people decide to stop being ocean people?
I don't get it.
And the second, unless there was something in the water that was so predatory to them, like some evil thing in the ocean that was like hunting them down. The other thing is that there's Zoras and Rito in Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
So,
which I love that they're together. That makes me happy, very happy.
Anyway, using the hook shot, saving the seed boy. Saving
the little seed boy. Because, you get the hook shot in the you get the grappling hook in the first level, you get the hook shot in basically what is the last level. So, it's easy to forget about. Especially because you get the hook shot in the last level, and then you're like, oh, I have to hunt for the Triforce pieces. And then you forget that there's so many secrets you can use the hook shot with for the rest of the level. And you're like, you're like, I could use this in so many places I forgot about.
I looked it up, and I was like, oh, yeah, the hook shot. I remember the little icon now, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Little blue guy. So after you, after you do that with Makar, you unlock, baby, 100% of the Master Sword's power. So, and every time you pull out the Master Sword, it glows. It's really cool. It even actually has like light spurts out of it every time you pull it out of the scabbard. It's really cute. It's a cute little detail.
Does it glow around moblins? That was a little... Anyway, next.
20 years since the movies came out.
Yeah, 20 years.
20 years since Fellowship of the Ring, everybody. Anyway, different franchise. Still great, though. We'll definitely talk about Lord of the Rings. Oh, that'll be a good one. So you got the Master Sword unlocked. Makar and Medley are like, don't worry, we're going to stay here in the temples and keep our power focused. You can count on us. And you're like, great, I'm Link. And then you go... And you have to, though, but that's not all. See, you have the Master Sword, and you're like, I'm going to go fight Ganondorf. But you can't find Ganondorf now because he's not at the Forsaken Fortress anymore. And at this point, he kidnapped Tetra, who we found out now that's right, Tetra is Zelda, which is really cool, by the way, to think about.
She turns really white.
Yeah, she turns she turns super pasty.
Her skin instantaneously goes from boat tan, like living under the sun tan to English prick queen white.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty funny, dude. Like, let's get that tan off you. Jesus. But so after she's discovered to be Zelda, she basically gets kidnapped by Ganondorf. Tails all the time. Shortly thereafter, and obviously you're like, well, I have to help you. You're Zelda. I have to help you, and I'm Link because it's revealed that she has the Triforce of Wisdom. And Ganondorf has the Triforce of Power. But where's the Triforce of Courage? Shouldn't it just go to Link? No, because sometimes people think it's a good fucking idea to smash it into pieces.
So let's break the cycle.
Yeah. So let's break the one that goes to the hero. Yeah. Not the one that
not the evil one.
Not the one that goes to Ganon, like, over the last, thousands and thousands of years. Let's break the one that goes to the one guy who does the fucking... Anyway. So somebody smashes... Maybe it was even the last Link, or maybe it was Zelda. I don't fucking know. Somebody smashes the Triforce of Courage and scatters it throughout the Great Sea. So you, Link, have to go and find it. It's the only way... Because even though you have the Master Sword, and yes, the Master Sword is technically powerful enough to kill Ganon, you're not. You are not. Like, you need the Triforce of Courage. So you need to go looking for that. And in the original game, you have to find 8 Triforce charts that are old Hylian charts stored away in incredibly difficult to get to locations because they don't want you to find them, that are written in a language you don't understand, that somehow Tingle understands. And we're about to get to this boy. I am very excited to talk about Tingle because you need him at this point in the game. At this point in the game, you have done all the levels except the last one, which is basically the Ganon's Tower. Every Zelda game usually has like a Ganon's Tower type level. So besides that one, at this point, it's just collect the Triforce pieces, get any last remaining heart pieces you want, extend your magic meter, get more bombs, do whatever you can on the surface because you're about to go down, girl. But before you go down, girl, you gotta make sure you get those Triforce pieces. And only one person, for some fucking reason, can translate old Hylian Triforce charts. And that man is a portly little creep named Tingle. Now, we gotta backtrack a little bit on this Tingle fella, because we actually meet Tingle earlier on in the game. We meet Tingle basically the very first time you go to Windfall Island, which is, if you remember, after the first time you go to the Forsaken Fortress, which is the first level. So really early on in the game. You're there really early on. Keep up, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. So there's this door that's hidden behind this brick wall in Windfall Island. And if you go to this door and open it, you'll actually find a jail cell. And at first it seems like there's no one in there, but as you get closer, somebody notices you and comes to the gate and says, "Hey, let me out." You see a creepy little green guy named Tingle. And if you know Tingle, he was originally in Majora's Mask, was his first appearance. And he also was a chart pusher in that game too. However, in Majora's Mask, Tingle took a big old helium balloon, would fly really high up in the sky, and he would make his own maps. He would make the maps so you, the adventurer, could buy them from him. They were kind of expensive still. They were kind of expensive, so that kind of sucked. But you could basically buy maps from Tingle, and he's kind of a nice. He had a good little business going, you know. And he had a dad who was really ashamed of him too.
His dad thought he was a
huge,
weird little disappointment who dressed up like a fairy.
Yep. I think that's actually. I think that's the quote, dude.
That's what he says. Yeah.
It's really funny too, actually. But he actually hey, fuck his dad. His dad's wrong. He's making a killing. Tingle, are you kidding me? With all those charts he sold, he made a killing. So good for Tingle. Good for you, bud. And he probably sold it to a couple more people too. It can't have been the only one. After you bought all those maps, he was probably like, I could sell these to everybody. Good for Tingle. So in Majora's Mask, he's not the worst. But in this game, he looks like that. If you're watching the stream, that's what he looks like in this game. He is a fucking sociopath. He is a far right libertarian sociopath. I'm not even kidding. He is lower right libertarian on the spectrum. So because he just cares, all he wants is his name up in lights. Glory and money, baby. That's all he wants. I don't know. I want to know what got him thrown in jail. I want to know so bad what he did to get himself thrown in jail in Windfall Island. I don't know. Maybe you can actually find out.
Tax fraud.
Probably. Or extortion. One of those two. But so you let him go, and he actually ends up giving you. Okay. This part, this is why this is so fucked up. Tingle says, wait a minute. I do know why he gets fucking
I was
thrown in
gonna
jail. He stole the Picto Box.
Yeah, it's because he stole the Picto Box.
He stole the Picto Box and he hid it in the jail cell. But the jail, it's actually, I completely forgot about the Picto Box. I forgot that was an item in the game. You can take selfies with it too. It's cute. So he stole basically one of the only cameras that exists in the universe. So there's a few of them, but there's he stole one of them and he hid it away. But when you go and find it in this dungeon, it's kind of not a dungeon, sorry. It's it's a jail cell. But when you go and try to find it in the jail cell, there's a bunch of little tunnels and there are skulls and dead people in it. There's a lot of weird implications here with this Tingle guy. He went digging around. He found this chest. He put the Picto Box in a chest. He got back to his jail cell before anybody noticed. He's a skeezy little motherfucker.
He snuck up behind a guy. He just said, "I like your camera."
Yeah, basically.
Kuala Lumpur. And smash his head in with a shovel.
Kuala Lumpur. Ping! Also, yeah, Tingle makes up his own... well, he does this in the first game, too, but his first appearance. He makes up his own his magic words. Kuala Lumpur! Those are Tingle's words. Don't steal them.
Copywritten.
He's very serious about not stealing.
He copywrote them, yeah.
He
filed the trademark with Hyrule.
We might get in trouble here in Lore Lords after this podcast. But anyway, so and after Tingle, you let Tingle out, he goes to his island. That's right. He has his own island. Of course he does.
Where you can oddly live tax-free.
Yeah, right? Well, there's only 3 people that live there, and holy shit. Let me get into it. So this island is probably one of the, if not the smallest island next to the Great Fairy Islands, which are also small, but they're just, the Great Fairy lives on them. They're great. We love the Great Fairy. Big fan of the Great Fairy. Great Fairies, multiple. There's always multiple. Tons of them in actual Wind Waker. So quite a handful of them. They're all wonderful. But there's this one other small little island that also has kind of a protruding tower on it. What is it? It looks like a totem. And at the top is a spinning Tingle head. The size of like, oh God, I don't know, like a 2-story building maybe? The whole tower is probably like 4 stories up. But this giant Tingle head is like this massive green Tingle head that is just spinning on it. And what is it being spinned by? Well, Pat, it's called Wind Waker. So the wind probably is spinning it, right? No. It's by 2 men.
2 very hard-working men.
Who don't get breaks. This thing is spinning day in and day out. And if you talk to them, you find out their stories. One of them is Tingle's relative. I think it's his little brother, actually. Or his big brother. One of those. It's like his brother or something. And basically admits to be taken advantage of by his bigger brother, but is too scared of him to defy him, which is horrifying. And then the second one, a guy who looks like Tingle as well. By the way, the other Tingles are wearing white and pink. There's also another one that I think wears blue, but I don't remember where he is. I think he's away. I think he's the one that escaped. I think there's one Tingle that literally escaped. But like the white one you talk to, it's like, oh, I'm Tingle's relative or something. And then you talk to the pink one, it's just kind of like, I'm just a guy. Like, he's just like, I'm a guy who one day washed up on this island, and then this dude in a green suit forced me to put this suit on and forced me to come up here and push this totem. He just says, like, I'm forced to do this. So
Tingle sits there and dances in his little green leotard.
Like he literally, I on stream later try to remind me to do what he does, like how he stands and how he acts. I'll try to reenact. I'm like doing it right now, like the way he stands, the way he moves his arms and his little jaw. He like moves his shoulders around. He's so flirty. He tries to like flirt with you, but like he's just forcing these 2 dudes to dress up like him, and then push a thing that just like could. Oh my God. And then bear in mind, we're at the end of the game now again, where you have to you need his help now because only he can decipher Triforce charts. So you have to bring the Triforce charts to him, and then he charges you like it's a little under, but basically it's like 400 rupees, which is fucking ridiculous, like for each Triforce chart. And it's like and there how many in the original game? I think there's 8 Triforce charts and 8 Triforce pieces. Yeah. So he charges you like. Basically, like 4 times 8, like it's so much fucking money. And that's like the worst part about it is like going around, not finding the charts necessarily, but going around just trying to find the money. Thankfully, though, I think the developers at some points realized that this was a huge pain in the ass. So occasionally when you would conquer a challenge and unlocked a Triforce chart or even a shard at that point, there were usually pots around that had like a lot of money in them. Like they usually have like 75 rupees at least, maybe 100 rupees, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, sorry, I just saw the GIF you put up on the stream. Yeah, that's Tingle. That's Majora's Mask Tingle though.
Yeah, that's from Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, that's good Tingle. We like this Tingle, even though, well, kind of.
I don't like him.
Yeah, he's still a little weird.
He's like 40, and I don't like it.
Yeah. That's my favorite part of what his dad says in Majora's Mask. He's like, he's an adult man. I don't know what he's doing. He's like, his dad clearly wants to retire. He's like, I don't know why I'm still working. My son's a goddamn idiot. Oh God, he is horrifying. Yes, absolutely. But anyway, so, but, and unfortunately you can't rescue these other Tingles. So you just kind of use this extortionist bastard, for his knowledge, and then you save Hyrule. And that's the end of the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to end on the most depressing note in the world. No, after you're done with Tingle and you kind of just like put that out of your mind because you're like, okay, that's weird. I'd like to think that maybe Tetra and Link go back afterward after Ganon's defeated, and then they're like, hey, we need to have a talk with you, bud.
They take out the final boss, Tingle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But he's all of a sudden he goes inside of the totem, and it's basically a giant neck.
It's like some Final Fantasy ass transformation where he's like this demigod creature on the island. The island is Tingle.
Yeah, right. And the two guys that are on it are just like fodder for, like, you have to fight them as minions, and one guy's just pissing his pants. Anyway, like, he's as unsettling as the berries and cream lad. Oh well, good comparison.
It is actually a pretty good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. Betty. Maps and slavery. I'm a little lad who loves maps and slavery. Like,
you can even see him singing it to the Tingle dance.
Oh, God. Kulumpa. Sorry. God. I'm going to put Kulumpa in one of my songs. Anyway, so you do that. You find all the Triforce pieces after you, again, put Tingle really far out of your memory. You get those Triforce pieces, and bada bing, bada boom. It's time. What time is it? It's summer vacation, everybody.
Yes, finally.
Everybody, summer vacation. Nowhere, no school for 3 months. No, it's time to go back down to the little bubble of Hyrule and find Ganondorf and take that mother down. Hopefully once and for all. No? Wait, this is Zelda. No. Not once and for all. Although, we'll get to it, but it's pretty epic. So you go back down into Hyrule Castle, where you found the Master Sword, where Tetra found out she was Zelda, and where the King of Red Lions, by the way, fun facts, reveals himself to not just be a boat, but to in fact be the King of Hyrule himself. The King of Hyrule stayed himself as basically a sage after the Hyrule was put in a bubble and sunk to at the bottom of the ocean. He stayed. He stayed as a sage because he was like, I got to make sure, because he knows Ganondorf was partly responsible for all this shit. So he's like, no, I'm going to keep an eye on this, and when the time comes, I'm going to help out as a boat. And let's be honest, the most useful tool in the game.
So, it would be really difficult to play without.
It's true. You'd basically just have to rely on Tetra, and as we know, for the first 3 levels in the game, she doesn't give a fuck about you. It's true. She basically just trash talks you. She literally shoots you out of a catapult after meeting you. She does not care. But you guys have become besties at the end. You guys become besties. So you're under the ground. You're doing Ganon's cat. Oh, also in this level, this is just an item thing that's really cool. You unlock the light arrows, and they are the most OP version of the light arrows I've ever seen in a Zelda game. They are broken as fuck. They do you have an enemy in your life? Shoot them with a light arrow. They'll literally disappear.
Set phasers to max.
Yeah, basically. It kind of sucked because you could only get the light arrows in this last dungeon, so you couldn't go back up to the surface and just do a bunch of shit with the light arrow. This is one reason why I want to do a Wind Waker randomizer, is because I want to see if I can get the light arrows early. Because just fucking imagine just steamrolling everything. Oh god, I want it so bad. But anyway, so you get the light arrows. They're super awesome. A Dark Nut, which is the heavily armored guys with the big swords and shields that you have to actually tactically take down normally. You can just shoot them with a light arrow and blink, gone. So cool.
Classic Zelda magic.
Yeah, but all the other light arrows are dumb. In Ocarina of Time, the light arrow is basically useless. It's only good against Ganondorf. The light arrow, you can't use the light arrows against the suns. We found out in the last randomizer. God damn it, motherfucker. I'm so mad. I'm still not over it. But it's okay. We got a brand new randomizer. We've learned all the lessons. We're going to kill it this time. Right, fam? That's right. Please believe in me. Anyway. So, but in this game, they're really cool. In Wind Waker, they're OP as fuck. So, after you get through Ganon's really cool level, because you also fight Phantom Ganon, who, by the way, has the exact same sound effects and voice acting as the Phantom Ganon and Ganondorf in Ocarina of Time. It's the same Ganondorf noises. Just thought you'd like to know. So if you ever play Ocarina of Time and remember what Ganondorf sounds like when he's throwing those balls at you and you're playing Dead Man's Volley back and forth with him at the beginning, the first battle, he makes those. Phantom Ganon in Wind Waker makes the exact same sounds. It's fun. It's a little detail I liked a lot. And after you play Dead Man's Volley with Phantom Ganon a bunch of times, there eventually is a path that is revealed via his sword hilt to you. It is a puzzle that, thankfully, I read the directions and figured out early, but some people, it takes forever for them to find their way out. And it's kind of funny, actually. But after you do that, you find her, Zelda, in a gigantic, California king-size bed. And Ganondorf just standing, lingering above her. Basically, not in look, there's obviously a lot of creepy
implications.
Predator implications here. He wants her for her wisdom, her Triforce of Wisdom. Not for her... not
for her wisdom, if you know what I mean.
Her wise dome. No. Well, dome.
Domes?
Don't. Blowjobs. No. Damn it. No, that's not. He wants her power. He wants... But Ganondorf's a smarty. He's not a dummy. He knows the only way to gather the Triforce pieces as a collective, you have to actually have them all together. If you have the Triforce of Power and you're standing next to the person with the Triforce of Wisdom, it doesn't matter. You can't do anything about it. You don't have the Triforce yet. You have to have courage nearby. But... convenient. You just walked in. So there it is. And Ganondorf has, and this is where Ganondorf, by the way, has this monologue I mentioned earlier. Actually, this is where this monologue happens, where he's just he wants you to have empathy for him. He tries so hard. He's like, do you have any idea what it's like growing up in the desert? And I'm like, a little bit. I lived in Amman, Jordan for a while.
Yeah. What about it?
Yeah. So, and I live in a desert right now. No, and it does suck. You're right. Actually, it's cold. And he's right. It's cold as shit right now. When it gets dark. But that's when he laments about how he wanted Hyrule and how he's like, well, you fools, I'm going to save Hyrule. With the Triforce, I am going to make the wish and bring Hyrule back to its former epic glory, which is basically Ocarina of Time, which, by the way, was an epic glory, because we've talked about it before. Hylian's Civil War happened right before Ocarina of Time. It's the whole reason Link is an orphan in that game. It's not a glorious place to be honest. Ocarina of Time, Hyrule is a fucked up place, really dark. You don't really see it that much in the game unless you're paying attention. And you have to observe it yourself. It's not given to you. That's what I love. And again, another thing I love about Zelda games, they'll write it in the art, but they won't in the story. It'll be all over the walls if you pay attention to it. But if you're not paying attention to it, then, if you go to the bottom of the well and you don't notice the stockades, then I don't know what to tell you. Okay. But Wind Waker is, again, no exception to that. But that's what Ganondorf basically is saying he wants to take it back to. And he's saying, and he's basically like, and I'm about to kill you right here, bitch. Take your Triforce of Courage. And what he does is he spawns what is one of the coolest boss fights in Zelda history, probably, Puppet Ganon. It's a 3-phase battle, super cool, where you fight. The first phase, I believe, is basically looks kind of like Ganon in his pig form. It's very grotesquely biggy, beefy, very round, a lot of balls, but it's a marionette. So the goal is you take your boomerang, you chop down some of the marionettes, and on the tail of this puppet is a glowing blue ball. And lo and behold, you better believe it, that's the weak spot. What are you supposed to hit with it? That's right, the light arrows, the thing you got earlier. So you shoot your light arrows at that ball. And in the first stage, it's not too hard to hit, because once you hit the marionette string with the boomerang and it falls down, it usually kind of stays in the same general area. You can aim at it and hit it. And then once you defeat that Ganon, actually, it's a really cute little scene. At first it's like, you beat it, and Link's jumping around. He's like, hey, I beat Phantom Ganon. And then it kind of gets darker and darker, and then it morphs into a giant spider. Yay! So then Puppet Ganon turns into a spider Puppet Ganon. Also, it still has the boar head though, so it's like a spider with a boar's head. Anyway, And this one, the trick to this one is paying attention to your feet. As if you look down, you'll notice that the floor is basically all water, but just like a few inches of water. So you have to use the reflection to see where he's going to fall from, and you want to position yourself in his rear. Why? Because that little blue ball that you got to shoot with a light arrow is right there. So what do? You shoot the light arrow. You shoot the little blue ball with the light arrow a couple times, and you beat that stage. And then comes the fun part. Dollkick, I hope you're here right now. Puppet Ganon, last stage is Moldorm. That's it. It's basically just Moldorm from A Link to the Past. It is the snake, and you can only hit it in the butt. You can only hit its tail, and it is similar to Moldorm, chaos. It just goes in random directions. It goes random air. It won't just gun for you. It goes very, very fast. It's hard as shit to hit. There are some techniques to hit it, and they're kind of scary. One of the techniques is get really, really uncomfortably close to him and let it go by you. And once it goes by you and you see the ball an inch in front of your face, you fire, and that's one of the techniques. But the good thing is, in this fight with Puppet Moldorm, basically, there is no hole. So in the fight with Moldorm, the most frustrating thing was when you got bumped off and you fell in the hole and you had to restart the fight over and over and over again. That was easily the most frustrating part. Dying sucks, sure, but that was always it, for me at least. Especially because you had to wear through your pots too. You still took your damage, but Moldorm healed up in 30 seconds in the time it took you to walk back up the stairs. Fucking damn it. But in this game, thankfully, there's nothing you can get knocked into. Which also means, though, the only way you lose is by death, so you better win. But once you pop it, that's it. You beat Puppet Ganon, you shoot him in the bum, bow! It's all done, and Puppet Moldorm is no more, and it's actually kind of cool, because you fight Puppet Ganon in probably, the biggest fucking room in the game, so far. You fight the big wormy boss in a pretty big worm, that guy. But the specifically the boss fight for Phantom Ganon, or sorry, not Phantom Ganon, Puppet Ganon, is huge. And after you beat him, one singular rope falls from the top, and you have to climb up this massive rope. And it's a really kind of it's kind of a really at first you're oh, this is kind of stupid and it takes a long time. But if you're into the story, if you're really into the emotions of it, it feels like you're literally climbing up to the final moments, and you're you as you climb, you realize this is the end, and it's a really cool sort of profound thing. And then you get up to the top of Ganon's tower, and there he is, staring at, again, still an unconscious Zelda. It's pouring rain, by the way, atop of this tower, and there's Zelda just knocked out. There's Ganondorf still being creepy, staring at her, and there you are being ready to confront, and Ganondorf, there in that moment, Ganondorf's guess what? The Triforce Pieces. I has them. All of them are here. I can make my wish. You're all a bunch of fools. Thank you so much for all these pieces. Ganondorf does this a couple times. Ganondorf is way smarter than people give him credit for, because he has tricked Link into letting him in multiple times in multiple things. Even in Breath of the Wild, Ganon can trick them all and took advantage of all of the Sheikah guardians and stuff. That's genius. What Ganondorf did, or Ganon, sorry, was genius. What Ganon did in Ocarina of Time was genius. He let Link collect all of the spiritual stones to open the sacred realm where the Master Sword was. Good job, idiot. You let Ganondorf in. He keeps doing this, and this is the same thing. There's two little twists, three-ish twists at the end here. The first of which is that what I was just saying, which I totally just lost my entire train of thought of. Holy crap, it's gone! Oh my god, this never happens. Oh yeah, Ganondorf outsmarted you. Right, he outsmarts you. And at the end, he's haha, now I have all the Triforce pieces. And the Triforce appears. But here's the second twist. Fucking King of Red Lions, or the King of Hyrule, was following you the whole time. He made his way downtown walking fast, faces past, and he was homebound, and he got to the Triforce first. So this motherfucker has his hand dead on the Triforce. Ganondorf sees it, and he just kind of has this jaw-dropped, shocked look on his face you motherfucker. And bear in mind, this is kind of cool, because this is the evil ruler and the good ruler facing off for the last time. The King of Hyrule and the King of Darkness just staring each other down while the King of Hyrule just gingerly places his hand on the Triforce and is like, and he just says, I just wish for these two to have a future. That's what he says. That was his wish. I just wish these two a future. And which is like a pretty simple wish, right, guys? You could say that wish already foretold the end results of this, but after that happens, the Triforce disappears, and so does the King of Hyrule, and Ganondorf basically shuts down. He kind of becomes Ganondorf, he kind of becomes Ganondorf in Twilight Princess, where Twilight Princess Ganondorf is fucking insane, loony bins insane. He's kind of becomes that right here. At first, again, he gave you that monologue about the winds of Gerudo being like razor blades and very articulate, He wanted the glory of Hyrule. Very, dogmatic ruler of darkness kind of thing. But after this wish was made, he kind of just went, snap! The little string just went. And I remember it looks like his eyes roll back in his head. He just starts laughing. He pulls out those two big-ass swords, and he says something on the lines of you want these two to have a future? You shouldn't have left them with me. That kind of thing. He's like, well, I'm going to make sure they don't have a future. I'm going to kill these little fuckers. So Ganondorf's like, I'm going to kill these little fuckers. He's just, goes crazy. At this time, though, Zelda gets up and is like, yo, let's take this mother down. And this is I kind of think is the third twist is Zelda hooks you up and helps you out in a huge way in this fight. She does technically help you in Ocarina of Time by holding him down at the very end of the fight. It is very important that she does that, yes. But it's not an interactive thing, where in this game, though, she's right there with you, and it's so cool. And so you give her your bow and the light arrows, and because she's Zelda, she has an infinite amount of magic. Because remember, Zelda's basically an all-powerful mage. Think of her as an all-powerful sorceress mage. She has the magic. And whereas Link is kind of like the Witcher, where he can use a few spells, like Din's Fire and stuff like that, but he's not good at magic. Whereas she can use Din's Fire in a million different ways. He can only do it in the one way. Even though Din's Fire's not even in this game. But whatever. So Zelda's got the light arrows. She's got her literal endless pool of magic. And she's going to help take down Ganondorf. Ganondorf is too good of a fighter in this game. You literally, I don't think, can hit him at all with just you and him. If it's you v him, you can't hit him. So she fires at him from behind. You have to position it so that he can't see. And she'll nail him with the light arrows. And Ganondorf is super weak to light arrows. So when he takes that hit, he's stunned. That gives you the chance to take that sword and shove it up his ass. And it gives you a chance to get a couple hits in. After a while, though, Ganondorf, smart bean, realizes maybe I should stop going after the green one who's been foiling my plans all along, and I'm going to knock this bitch out. So for a second, he kind of knocks Zelda out again. She, this poor girl gets fucking the shit kicked
slapped
out of her.
Around no one's business.
Yeah, really though. She gets her ass beat this game. this game, Jesus. But she gets put down for a second, and Ganondorf just comes after you again, and you basically just have to survive against him for a bit while she gets up, because she does get up again. She picks up her arrows, but every time she fires an arrow at him now, he's too smart, sees it coming, and he always dodges it. So she comes up with a good idea, and she's just like, hey, you got that mirror shield, right, dog? So she fires the light arrow at your mirror shield to deflect and hit him. You do that a handful of times. And then Link has probably the coolest finisher in any Zelda game to Ganondorf. Link doesn't, he kind of does one of those slick moves that he learned on early on in the game. He, slips behind him, hits him, jumps up in the air, and then buries the Master Sword in Ganondorf's forehead. And not like a tip of it goes in, it's fucking in there. He just buries the Master Sword in Ganondorf's head, and then Ganondorf basically turns into the new pedestal of time. And it seals the Master Sword inside of Ganondorf's forehead, basically. And then the King of Hyrule makes one last kind of little appearance. He helps Zelda and Link, surrounds them with a life-saving bubble as he crashes the oceans onto Hyrule and says, Hyrule will never return to the surface ever again. And it does, thousands of years later. But he's like, no, the new world will exist on these islands. The new world will exist for them. Hyrule is gone. The King of Hyrule is basically trying to say, no more Hyrule. What he wanted, it's kind of sad if you think about it. It's he almost wanted Hyrule to just disappear forever, turn into Atlantis, basically. as opposed to like
it's like he wanted the old ways to be forgotten so people could move on.
Exactly, and whereas Ganondorf wanted to bring it back. So like, and when Hyrule came back, presumably thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years later, it was exactly what that king wanted. It was. So because the idea is that thousands and thousands and thousands and tens and hundreds of maybe of even thousands of years later is Breath of the Wild. And basically they talk about, especially in Breath of the Wild, they reference like 10,000 years ago as though it was a big deal in Breath of the Wild, 10,000 years ago. And they talk about that was like being the peak of Hyrule culture and the last time they had to seal away Ganon. But they were so prepared for Calamity Ganon. So, because they had all the Guardians, they had the Divine Beasts, they had Link and Zelda trained and ready to go. Which I love, because they basically said they've been through this song and dance. Wind Waker happened, Twilight Princess happened, Ocarina of Time happened, A Link to the Past happened. All of these games, all of these events happened. They knew what to do. So they did that 10,000 years ago. And then, of course, Calamity Ganon's like, yeah, but I ain't dumb. Like, I ain't dumb. But but anyway, so it really is kind of nice to know that the King of Hyrule did get his true wish, and Hyrule did become a prosperous kingdom full of trade and commerce and unity and love and like a little bit of racism and sexism, because the Gerudos are so sexist as fuck. But, they'll hang out with dudes. They just won't let them into their town. That's all. I love that mission, by the way, in Breath of the Wild.
Unless.
So much fun. Love the outfit, by the way, that you get. Super drafty, and Link's belly button is adorable.
It's a weird flex, but okay.
Oh,
It's a weird flex. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Look, belly button.
He's no Cloud, but he's good. He's looking good in that outfit.
Oh, I love Breath of the Wild. That's such a good game. But I know we're talking about Wind Waker. But anyway, so that was basically the end of Wind Waker. After you return to the surface, the King of Red Lions as a boat comes by, but no longer as the king. It's just kind of an empty shell, which, by the way, fuck that. That's so sad. Why can't the king come back as your beau? Why can't he just be your buddy? Why can't? Why can't? Why can't? Like,
why can't?
Because one of my favorite things in that game was when the boat would like turn its head and start laughing at you. That laugh that it had, I love it. It's like Falcor from Neverending Story. It's a little scary, but
why couldn't Falcor stay?
Yeah, why can't Falcor? Oh God. God damn it! No. Oh man. But yeah, I love that boat. But then the pirates save him too. You finally take Ariel back home. Grandma's surprisingly not dead.
Make some good soup for you.
Make some good soup for you. And I did want to talk about Grandma, like after I talked about this whole story, because I wanted to like give her a nice 5 to 10 minutes because she's such a great character. Because we talked a little bit about her beginnings, but we didn't really keep going as I went on to the tangent. So as I just went. So after you get back, Ariel's home. Link actually heads back out again. He heads back out with Tetra. So he leaves home. He's coming of age. He's at this point after Wind Waker. You can imagine his journey took him about a year. He's probably 14 now or something. He wants to go off and do his own thing, and he actually does, because the next game is Phantom Hourglass, which is the same Link from this game. It's the same from Wind Waker. Not Spirit Tracks, though. It's both Toon Link, but Spirit Tracks takes place thousands of years later after the Kingdom of Hyrule has been reestablished, and they established train systems. So that's why. So it's different Link in. But fun fact: Zelda. There's a Spirit of Zelda in Spirit Tracks. That is the Zelda from Wind Waker and Phantom Hourglass. Although it's not really in Phantom Hourglass, but whatever. So your companion in Spirit Tracks is Spirit Zelda, so that's kind of cool. And it's this Zelda too, because I loved that they brought this Link and Zelda back a few times, because this was such a good duo. These characters were so great, well-rounded. They had such great motivations. They were believable. Link felt a little bit more than just some orphan kid in a forest, which was nice. Don't get me wrong, Ocarina of Time Link is cool and all, and has arguably one of the most depressing stories of any of the Links, because either he dies or he loses everything. So take your pick. And basically just becomes a guard. It's basically his fate. So yeah, but this Link, on the other hand, goes on to have great adventures. This Zelda does too. She just becomes Tetra. She stays Tetra. She's not a princess, by the way. Like, there is no Hyrule. There's no one to be princess of. So like, when she comes back, she's like, even though she has this power within her and she has that bloodline of the royal family and all that, like, she's just a pirate. Like, she doesn't have that title. It's kind of a cool thing to think about. Like that Zelda still exists even without the title, like, it doesn't matter if there's a princess or not. Zelda will exist, like, that's super cool. And because Zelda will exist, that must mean that her little green garbed friend will too. And I think that's a phenomenal takeaway and like kind of overall lesson of this. It's like, you're not fighting for any kingdoms here. You're just fighting for what is basically a merchant republic. Like, that's kind of what Wind Waker's governing system is. It's basically like a merchant republic where like every like species helps each other out to some degree. Even the Koroks help out. They literally go across the Great Sea and plant seeds that you have to, of course, help them with, which is a nightmare side quest. But yeah, it's okay. So the Koroks do their part by trying to plant plants. The Gorons actually exist in Wind Waker 2, believe it or not. They somehow survived as merchants. I don't know how the fuck they survived, but they did.
I forgot there was Gorons in Wind Waker, honestly.
Yeah, they are. There's only like 4 of them, and they're all merchants, but they exist. Like the Zoras, somehow they potentially went extinct, but the Gorons didn't. Okay. I don't get it. Like, there's no way they can breathe underwater. They're rocks. But no, so like, in the Wind Waker, they have a really nice like trade system. That's what Windfall Island is. That's why Windfall is kind of like in the center of the map too. It's very centralized. And that's on purpose. So it's kind of cool. But anyway, that's basically it for Wind Waker. Oh yeah, I want to talk about Grandma real quick. So, all right. So at the very beginning of the game, when Ariel and you were fine, you're both living on the island and whatever, Grandma's a smiley old lady. She's so happy that she has her grandkids. They're healthy. They're happy. She loves life on this tropical. It's a beautiful island. Outset is gorgeous. I'd live on Outset. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby. Looks great. There's a great fairy fountain there, too. So you can always rely on being able to get healed if you break your arm. There's free healthcare there. And then all of a sudden, after Ariel gets kidnapped, you have to go break the news. Also she gives you, Grandma gives you the green Link outfit, and it's super sweet because it's your 13th birthday, and she's like, it's tradition. Come on, put on the outfit of the old hero from thousands of years ago. And she's like, you look so handsome. It's, by the way, it's like joked about that the green outfit is very, very hot. Like, it's way too hot for the tropical temperatures that this game takes place on. Like, and then he's always sweating, always hot boy sweating. Hot boy summertime here in Wind Waker. So after you break the news, she's like, oh yeah, my sister's been kidnapped or killed, and I'm going to now leave and try to go save her. So both of her grandkids, the only 2 things that she lives for, leaves at the same time, and she has no idea when they're coming back. First, one gets taken by a bird, and one goes with pirates. Neither is really like desirable for your kid or your grandkids. Like, so you could, the fact that this old lady doesn't just fucking die is amazing. And then during that middle sequence, if you remember when I talked about that great rainstorm that Jaboon caused to hide away in Outset Island, and you have to go back to Outset Island, you can actually take a pit stop there. And if you do take a pit stop at Outset Island, you can go check in on your grandmother. But what do you guys think your grandmother's doing? This is going to be a rhetorical question. What do you guys think that Grandma's doing when you go and visit her? Do you think she's A, making soup, B, doing jumping jacks, or 3, sickly, passed out on the couch, basically having fever dreams, wishing her grandkids are safe? Well,
I'm going to go with B, jumping jacks.
Well, you're right. She was doing jumping jacks, and she's super pumped. She gives you a protein shake, and she goes, all right, I'm coming to save. No, she's not. She's found basically in a chair having fever dreams about you and your sister. She's like, no, please, come home. no, don't be in danger. It's like the saddest shit. Like, and you can't wake her up. You can try to talk to her over and over and over again, and you cannot wake her up. But there is a way to cure her of her ailments. There's a way to do it. You have to go find a little fairy that you catch in a bottle, classic Zelda trope, catching fairies in a bottle, and you unleash the fairy right next to her. And once you do, it'll heal you, and then it'll go over and heal your grandmother. When she wakes up, it's a tear-jerking scene. She gets up and basically like she shoots up out of her chair as she's like, oh, Link, oh my god, you're okay. Oh my god, Link. And then you tell her the news. You're like, oh, okay, I'm about to find Ariel. We're about to get her. We're this close. She's okay. She's alive. You tell her that she's alive, and you like give her this peace of mind. But you're like, I still have to. I have to go though. I can't come back yet. I still have to go and rescue her grandma. I'm so sorry. I have to go. And it's so sad, but this time Grandma's a little bit more prepared, and she finds the strength within herself, and she's like, no, I'm going to help you on your quest. So she makes, we were talking about it earlier, Grandma soup, and that soup is actually like super dope. It gives you full hearts. So if you have at this point a lot of hearts and magic power, it restores your full hearts, magic power, and as you have full hearts, you have double the attack power. So until you take a hit, you have double the attack power. And in Wind Waker, if you get good at the combat, you can last a long time without taking a hit, you know? So, like, you can basically have this double strength for quite a while. So it's a good idea to save up on some soupies right before you get in there, you know, get into a big battle.
Big soupy collector.
Oh, big soupy collector. Big soupy collector. Find those bottles. You know, get more than one bottle. And it's 2 servings, by the way. There's 2 servings per bottle. Because she loves you that much. She always fills it so it's heaping. Grandma gives those soupies, all right. Absolutely. And then she helps you out. It's a nice little way that Grandma can help you for the rest of your quest. And every time you go back and visit her, she always just is like, hey, how you doing? Is everything okay? And then after you actually rescue Ariel, and Ariel hangs out with the pirates, because she hangs out with the pirates for a while, because it's way safer with the pirates while Ganondorf is still alive and hanging out. Way safer with a bunch of, like, hardy, you know, battle-ready pirates than it is on Outside Island, where, like, the only person they have to defend that island is an old man. If you remember the guy you train in the sword with, he's just like this old man who kind of actually looks like the old man who gives you the sword in the original Legend of Zelda. He has the same goatee beard. Fun fact. Little Easter egg for you guys. I forget what his name is, though. But, yeah, he's the only guy who would be able to defend Outside Island if there was an invasion. And I don't have a lot of faith in that guy. So, yeah, you know. And I just wanted to give and after you rescue Ariel, you bring her home. Grandma's so happy to see her, have her home, and she waves proudly to you as you leave for your next journey, which is Phantom Hourglass, which I probably won't do of Lords on Phantom Hourglass. Though I actually really loved Phantom Hourglass, by the way. I thought it was really fun. Though there's not a lot of story and a lot of deep lore involved. It takes place in a different place. It's some people theorize is actually Termina flooded.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a flooded Termina. So I think we talked about that a little bit during Majora's Mask.
Oh, I think you might be right. You might have thought that up. So, which is pretty cool, and I'm down with that, and I love Termina. I'd love to go back to Termina one day. Oh my god, maybe in Breath of the Wild 2, Termina DLC, let's go. Don't bring Majora's Mask there, though. Imagine if you did, and it literally spawned an entire new major quest. That would be amazing. A whole big side quest where it's take Majora's Mask out of Termina before it's too late. Although, again, that's still a theory, too. But it's such an implied theory, because you could literally have the mask in Hyrule in Breath of the Wild, and it only gives you a tiny little power boost. Tiny little bit. And it's barely a stealth boost. Barely.
Just a little ghost in there.
Little
ghost being ghosty.
Which is so, but to me, you know how much I love that. I love that. What does that little ghost mean? Is that little ghost going to stay a little ghost? Is that little ghost going to become a big ghost?
Like, he's still ghosty. He's a little boo, you know, little spooky ghost boy.
Little Poe ghost, little Majora Poe, little Majora Poe living in there still. After he got spanked by Fierce Deity Link. God, I love that Fierce Deity Link. When I found out what the Fierce Deity Link was, like I know we're talking Wind Waker, but we're about done with Wind Waker, so I'm gonna. When I found out, I lost it. So good. But anyway, that is Wind Waker. So. And here's my recommendation for those who want to get, this is one of the best first Zelda games for people. If somebody wants to say, I want to start a Zelda game, but I don't know which one to start with, sometimes I will say Wind Waker, because it masters the mechanics that Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask set forth with like Z targeting and combat. Because like in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, it is clunky. I love them still, and they're very good and they're very fun. And if you know them well enough, you can kind of do okay. But I'm sure you guys have watched some of those randomizers that I've done on my channel, and yeah, they I can screw up that Z targeting pretty good too. You can be a pro at that game and still fuck it up. But however, Wind Waker, on the other hand, it's got a pretty good system down. When you get into a battle, the camera usually widens up pretty good. It gives you more fighting techniques and ways to win. And again, it's adorable. The story is, again, beautiful. The characters are fully loaded, basically. Even some of the side characters, like we talked about the poor, the homeless man and the rich man, and how they had they had completed arcs themselves. We didn't, and like Medley and Makar, they technically had their completed arcs with trying to find their purpose and becoming sages and everything. It's a lot of great. Highly recommend it. Dogcake I think Dogcake would definitely love Wind Waker. Could definitely Soundwave would definitely be there too.
No. Absolutely would hate it. Everyone hates Wind Waker. It's too cartoony. It's a game for children. I'm an adult. I need my Link to be crying blood.
like he kind of was in Majora's Mask when he put the Fierce Deity mask on.
Always crying blood is the only Link I want to see.
Probably. Wind Waker's so good. I definitely think next year there will be a Wind Waker randomizer. I remember watching Captain K, our friend Captain, did a couple of Wind Waker randomizers. I loved watching those ones, so I'd love to go back and maybe do one myself. Wind Waker is probably the third Zelda game I had beaten the most times, because it's Majora's Mask. Actually, Ocarina of Time is probably number one. I've beaten Ocarina of Time more than any other Zelda game, because I preserve Majora's Mask. I love it too much to beat it to death. Then Majora's Mask, though. And then Wind Waker, probably. So I think I could probably do Wind Waker, though there are a lot of secrets in that game I don't know. So it would be a really big learning curve. Although I've learned my lesson with all my Ocarina of Time randomizers to always have a Wikipedia in front of you.
Yes. It always helps to have a guide.
Yeah. I admit my hubris got the best of me the first 4 times. Well, 3 times, really. I played the randomizer because I was like, I know this game so well, it'll be a breeze. But I have found... But it was that last time I played, which we almost beat. I can't believe how close I got. It was that one where I did all the research I should have done in the first place, and I literally scoured everything, and it was it. And I remembered Doll's reaction to me finishing that, or me realizing I couldn't finish it the other night. She was like, "Wait, it's over?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think it's over. I can't do anything." Because the realization you can't go further in a randomizer, by the way. We're drifting into post-show territory here, but the reason when you realize you can't go further in a randomizer, it just kind of hits you. It's not an epic moment; it's a sad moment. It just peters out, and the wick burns out, and that's it. But
classic John Wick moment.
Classic John Wick moment. But anyway, guys. Thank you guys for listening to Wind Waker. I loved talking about this one. I'm glad I could do Wind Waker 1. I hope you guys enjoy Zelda stuff. I am your Zelda boy, and obviously we got other Zelda boy Atlas here.
Of 13, 3 have been dedicated to solely Zelda.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about making this one about either I remember we talked about the Skyrim Civil War, or Mass Effect was another one I wanted to do. Or I had another one too another fantasy game that I like that I was gonna talk about, but I forget. So I had those ones in mind, but it's been a really busy week, and I was like, I just played through Wind Waker. I've been watching a Wind Waker playthrough. I've been learning. I'm like, I'm gonna do Wind Waker. It's so fresh. So I'm obsessed with it too. So I can speak passionately about it too. It's not just
the passion.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, there's a thing I like. Let me talk about it. It's like, no. This is in my life right now, and it's epic. So, and yeah. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you in a little bit.